Hello everyone, welcome to Tarkir Dragonstorm Brawl Commander review. As we do for every new set, we look at all the new legendary creatures and what can we possibly build with them, and also which ones are just kind of not that good as a commander. Although this time around there's only one that I found didn't really fit the commander role. You can still build it as a commander, but I don't think it fits all that well. The set is out this Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, on Arena, or Friday, probably Thursday. So yeah, we have a few days to brainstorm the decks. But so first and foremost, the only I wouldn't say unplayable, more on the uninteresting part is Sarek, which can't be countered, has trample or whatever, 4/3 for 3 above curve. Never creature control or creature spell you control becomes target with spell ability. You draw a card, so you're very reliant on your opponent interacting with you, which bound to happen. But a Rough doesn't do that. You're gonna meet some people that just do their own game plan, so your command is just a 4/3 for 3. So in that sense, I think it just fits more as part of the 99 in a better aggressive deck with a command that is more impactful on the board. So that's why I don't think it's all that interesting, at least not as all that powerful as a commander. But other than that, let's go to the actual ones. We have an unoffensive Unwielding Lineage, 3 mana 2/2 Flash First Striker. Whenever non-target creature control dies, it endures 2. Enduring, either make an offensive bigger by 2 counters, ++1 counters that is, or you make a 2/2 White Spirit token. So what options do we have? Well, it's great to have the ability to sack creatures on command. So obviously have like creatures which have sack abilities themselves, Selfless Spirit, the Remorseful Cleric, Giving Indestructible, or Exiling Opponent's Graveyard. That could matter. Or even just other ways to sack creatures. Auto Dimension can mill yourself, or you mill your opponent. You just keep sacking dudes, mill your opponent out eventually, or for yourself, you have ways to bring things back. Auto is gonna add you a lot of mana. Also, just having the option, hey, your opponent's gonna exile my creature, let me just sack them, and this way I get a token, or I get to make an offensive bigger. Although I would lean towards making tokens and going wide. I put Downy in an example, so Mondrak, you're making tokens is better. Downy will trigger twice, only if you've not put a counter on an offensive, but that's up to you. Since we're going to be sacking creatures, or hoping for creatures to die, maybe even chump attacking, Luminous Broodmoth, very powerful, bringing those creatures back, or any kind of, if you're playing a bunch of small creatures, as we can kind of see, like a bunch of 2-power creatures, there are effects whose name I cannot remember, that you bring them all back from the graveyard to the battlefield. Rally the Ancestors, for example, could also work for a one-time effect, then you sack them, although they get exiled if I'm not mistaken. If you do sack them, I could be mistaken there. Enduring Innocence is going to draw your cards when these tokens come into play. You can do it in your turn and your opponent's turn, so you'll be drawing 2 extra cards a turn, especially if you have ways to sack yourself, or if you're blocking or trading, things like that. Double the amount of tokens you're getting, triple if you have other ways. Yeah, just, it's a mono white tokens deck, but with this sacrifice sub-theme, which I guess is not something we see all that often, so that's exciting. It is exciting. The other white commander is Elspeth Stormslayer. Very straightforward token deck, kind of like an offensive, but not really, because you don't have the sacrifice theme. So it has a static ability of basically doubling season the token part. So whenever you create a token, you create twice that many tokens. The +1 creates a token, so you can create 2 tokens. The 0 puts a counter on each freaking creature you control and give them flying. Disgusting. So like, it's a game ender basically. And the -3 is a good, decent removal spell. So doubling the tokens is nice, but if you have, just with Elspeth is already doubling Mondrak, that makes 2 times 2, and then you add another one that's 2 times 2 times 2, so that gets really disgusting really quickly. We want ways to be creating tokens, either a huge amount of tokens at once, so if you create 5 or particular ways, becoming 10 with Elspeth, or having a consistent token generator that you don't have to invest in any other mana, like Skrow's Hive. Those are kind of like must-haves. Just makes it easier. You don't have to keep casting spells to make 1 token every time. Just have one that's always there, and other ones that make a lot at once. We obviously want to make our creatures big. Obviously, Elspeth herself has a Anthem-esque effect, which you could have the Gideon's ultimate that makes all your creature get +1/+1. Intangible Virtue, Valkyrie's gonna get really disgusting, really quickly with Elspeth's +1 and her static. I'm going to make 2 tokens. You're going to be putting 2 counters on every creature you control whenever you +1 Elspeth, so that's disgusting. Then obviously your mono white, you need ways to draw a card. The tokens, luckily we have Caretaker's Talent, which is disgusting, and Enduring Innocence, which happened to show up twice. I think it's going to show up a couple more times as well. We just happen to have a lot of token generator, which I think is the Mardu, Jeskai, even Abzan kind of vibe, so it makes sense. But yeah, it's token generating, drawing cards, making your creatures huge very quickly as well. Anything that doubles the counters you put on creatures, any anthem effects, since you're going to be making a lot of creatures, very, very powerful with her. Next we have Tigam, the Master Opportunist. I don't know. 2/2 for 2. That's solid. Has Flurry whenever you cast your second spell each turn. You copy it, exile the spell that you, the original spell with 4 time counters on it, and then again suspend. So let's say for example we cast a Time Warp. What happens is we copy it, the copy resolves, and then the original spell gets exiled with 4 counters on it, time counters. For those of you guys who haven't played with time counters, every upkeep you take 1 off, and when the last one is removed, you can cast it. And if it's a creature, it has haste. So it's pretty cool. It is on the upkeep, right? Yeah, it is on the upkeep. So we want, first of all, powerful spells to cast, to double, because you don't want to double a Brainstorm or Quicken. You kind of want to double Time Warp or River's Rebuke. You cast it and in 4 turns you're going to get it again. So your opponent just has this looming thing looking at you like, okay, in 3 turns time, they're going to get another extra turn. In 3 turns time, or 4 turns, or 2 turns, or like it's counting down, they're going to get another River's Rebuke and bounce my whole board. So I'm kind of like, I need to do something about this. So you always have this thing looming on your opponent, and you don't have to pay for the extra things. So it's kind of a free spell, which is going to enable the Flurry ability again. Comes 4 turns later, River's Rebuke casts again. Now you cast another spell that turn. That's the second spell you cast that turn. So it gets exiled, and in 4 turns you get it again. So it kind of feeds itself, enables itself kind of thing. We obviously want cheap spells to make the Flurry easier to get, at least the initial one. So anything that draws a card or lets us cast our powerful spells on opponent's turn, because those would be nice, plays around counter spells. But I think just 1 mana spell. It's a shame we don't have like Gitaxian Pro, but you could play Mishra's Bauble, for example. Mox Ember will be very good because Tigam is cheap, so it makes already a lot of sense. So any very, very cheap spell on turn 1, not on turn 1, to play on the first spell on the turn, and then the second spell be your more meaningful spell. We also have the likes of big spells that we're happy to copy, but we can also just use them as cheap spells, so all the Delve kind of stuff. Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise just being fantastic cards on their own. And then there's certain spells that just happen to cost 2 spells. So Threshing Gearhulk comes in and casts a spell from your graveyard. That's your second spell. Brawl's Expertise, you cast the free spell. That's your second spell. So any card that costs double spell, well, itself and another one, works with Tigam quite well, because it will be casting the 2 spells in one body, which not easier than casting a Brainstorm and also having another spell to cast. So always like trying to combine, line it up in a certain way. But yeah, cheap spells to enable your copying, or spells that cost 2 spells. It's nice. It's a very interesting command. I think it's going to be very powerful. It can be built to be very, very powerful. Next, we have Sidisi, Regent of the Mire, 1/3 for 2, that has a tap ability that can only be activated as a sorcery. That you sacrifice a creature you control with mana value X, other than Sidisi herself, and return a creature from your graveyard with a mana value X +1. So it's kind of a birthing pod, but only for creatures in your graveyard, which is very interesting. Only a sorcery, so kind of exactly like Birthing Pod. No mana to activate it, which is very much worth noticing. It's a shame there's not many ways to untap the Sidisi. We obviously have Paradox Engine in mono black, but we don't have like Intruder Alarm. Intruder Alarm would have been disgusting with Sidisi, but we cannot do it in this deck since it's a blue card. But yeah, we have creatures that will fill a graveyard, so Stage of Supply will help fill a graveyard and be sacked. Ripples of Undeath is just going to a lot of cards very, very quickly in a graveyard. Creatures that we can sacrifice and come back. Bloodghast comes back with a land drop. 9 Lives Familiar comes back at the end of the turn for 8 times they do it, basically, so keep getting back 4 drops. Since we're going to be sacking a lot of creatures, Midnight Reaper is going to be drawing us cards. Black Market is going to be adding a lot of mana for us. And then to round off, we just kind of want these big not necessarily finishers, but these big powerful creatures that we're going to bring back. There's certain also, I don't remember the name. There's a 5-mana 4/4 that when it comes to play, you search for a creature card and put it into your graveyard. That's very powerful, so you can kind of tutor stuff into your graveyard. There is also an Entomb on a stick for 4 mana that does the same thing. So any of those kind of effects, so you can kind of search for the creatures. Obviously, you're going to be milling and also just playing the game normally, and creatures going to end up in your graveyard. But if you can have this toolbox ability of searching them and putting in graveyard, is amazing. But yeah, like Grey Merchant could be, if you're playing against an aggressive deck, can make your life total a bit more safe, or can just win the game outright. Massacre Worm can be a board wipe. You can have tutor effects. You could have just token generators, so you have a better board, things like that. So just having a toolbox kind of idea with Sidisi could feel quite nice. You just need to make sure you can mill a lot of cards. Anything that gives Sidisi haste is also nice. We are talking about the likes of the both boots will be the main ones in mono black. But yeah, it's a fun deck. It's a fun deck. I'm excited about Sidisi. Next of Sarkhan, Dragon Ascendant. I almost put it as uninteresting, but I think it's fine as is. Although there's probably better Dragon commanders than Sarkhan himself, because he's not all that impactful. So he's a 2-mana 2/2. When he enters, you can behold the dragon. To behold, you choose dragon inventory or reveal one from your hand, and then you get a treasure token. And whenever dragon comes into play, you put a count on Sarkhan, and he becomes a copy of that dragon with flying. So that's nice, but you know, it's not. It's fine. It's fine. It's good. It's powerful. It's powerful. I think there's better commanders, especially if you want to go more colors. Teamer being my favorite dragon colors, but it's fine. It's fine as it is. So we're looking for dragon. It's gonna be a dragon tribal. It doesn't matter. Tribal deck. So we'll have this new dragon that gives all your dragons +1/+1. Also has Storm, which is disgusting. Whenever another dragon comes into play, you're gonna create 5/5s, which is nice. We also want to make sure the curve fits well, because one issue that you will notice when you look for dragons, the 5-drop slot is so freaking chunky. There's so many good 5-mana dragons. But you want to be playing dragons throughout your curve, so Sarkhan keeps getting bigger and you keep getting these extra abilities into your end of turn. So obviously you have Fearsome Whelp is, I mean, it's fine, whatever, it's not going to go that well, but it's a cheap one that makes your dragon cheaper. All the 4-drops, there's very good 4-drops as well. 3-drop dragons is medium to say the least. 2-drops is scarce, but then your 5 and your 6 are really good. 7, 8, there's a couple that very powerful as well. We have these ones are gonna make your dragons cheaper. These are just good abilities to copy, I guess. Twin Flame Tyrant. Your Sarkhan hits gonna do double the damage. Draw the peaks. If any other dragons come into play, you're gonna be dealing quite a bit of damage twice over, because you're gonna have Terror of the Peaks and Sarkhan having that ability at the same time. And then another dragon comes to play. It's like cool. Punk you for 8 because of the break region came into play after I had the Terror of the Peaks come into play. And yeah, then just having a good curve. It's a dragon typo deck. Tribal, not typo. What typo? Don't know. Don't care. Next, we have Tirsa Light Shatter, an Orc Wizard, 3/3 for 3 with haste. When he enters, you can discard 2 cards, up to 2 cards. Then draw that many cards. When he attacks, if there's 7 more cards in your graveyard, exile a card at random from your graveyard, and you can play that card this turn. You do have to pay the mana cost, is worth noting. So there's no point in putting Eldrazi to hopefully get them out. Yeah, Ulamog can be in the graveyard. Sorry, I was like thinking, wait, Eldrazi shuffle, but not all of them, not the more recent ones. So there's no point in doing that. You just need to have a solid, cheaper curve as always in these mono-red decks. So first of all, we're gonna get value from discarding cards. Money of Endurance gonna create treasure tokens, draw cards, or deal damage. Inti is gonna exile, have you get extra spells to play a turn. Mako is gonna get huge. You also have Fireblade Adapt. I want to say it's Fireblade Adapt, but I could be mistaken on that one. If you're missing out, he's gonna get Delirium very easily, and it's gonna let Tirsa attack twice, so you get 2 spells. And then you have ways to get enough cards in the graveyard. There's not many easy ways to mill yourself in mono red. You could play God, why am I so bad with card names sometimes? Mesmeric Orb, you could play that to mill, but there's more efficient ways, I guess, just playing cheap cards, cycling a lot, and then self-discard. Faithless Looting is going to get 3 cards by itself, gamble. Or you either get the card you want, or it's going to go into your graveyard, and then Tirsa can You can cast it. And then the last thing that I think is important for Tersa is to manipulate the cards you have in your graveyard, because you're going to exile a card at random. You could exile a land, which is fine, you might want to play, but not on turn 7. I don't want to play a land anymore. So you have like Ghost Vacuum and Ox of Agonis to kind of like just clean your graveyard, if you will, or there's a lot of excess mediocre cards at this point of the game are not going to be impactful. So I'm going to start removing them, so when Thirsa attacks and I get a card from my graveyard, it's going to be a card I want to get, or at least a card that's impactful enough. So I think it's important to have some ways of cleaning your graveyard for sure. Since I'm on a red, we don't get access to Delve and other mechanics like that, but you know, we can make do. Next, the first multicolor of many, Nerev Heart of the Storm, is a spirit dragon. As you're gonna notice, there's a dragon and a legendary creature. It's not necessarily human. There's like a leader for each clan. So yeah, this is the Mardu one. Nerev Heart of the Storm is a 4-mana 4/5 with flying. Whenever a creature into this turn will deal damage, it deals twice that much damage instead. So there's a few points we're going to work with this deck. Well, first of all is powerful haste creatures. Being Mardu, you get a lot of them. Obviously red has the most, but there's some red X ones that are very powerful. Aurelia being a great example that attacks, you're going to get to attack twice, so it's going to deal 12 damage, for example, if it gets through. Obviously 6 the first time around, another 6 the second time around, and giving a second combat to all your creatures as well. Screaming Nemesis is just a very, very powerful creature. Haste is kind of the idea there. The other way would be tokens that come into play and attacking, because those who have entered this turn will deal twice that much damage. So Calamity works really well. It's going to make copies of whatever the powerful creatures you have, and they're going to get to deal the damage twice. 4 is going to be making a new token every turn, although it does get sacrificed at the end of turn, but that token comes into play. Let's say it has 3 counters, it comes in as a 3/1, deals 6 damage, has trample as well. It's a lot of damage very, very quickly. Up next we have same idea, but these tokens stay, so they don't get sacrificed. So the first time around they do deal double the damage, the next time they won't, but you still get to keep the token, so that's fine. Adeline making 1/1 attacking every turn, which, you know, only 2 damage, but you know, the idea is that although Animpakal is better, because they keep making more and more tokens as the longer she stays in play. And these tokens the first time around dealing double the damage. You can obviously also run the likes of Twin Flame Tyrant, so it's gonna double and then double the damage, so quadruple the damage. Very disgusting. Then lastly is creatures are coming to play and deal damage, not necessarily to opponents. So Flate's gonna deal double the damage, gonna deal 6 damage, for example, to a creature or an opponent. Fury is gonna deal 4 damage via amongst like 3 creatures, 1, 1, and 2. Then it deals 2, 2, and 4, killing multiple creatures. So it's very, very powerful in that sense as well. It's a very creature-centered deck, obviously because the commander wants creature that enter this turn to deal the damage. It doesn't matter, like burn spell is not going to be the way to go. So yeah, it could just be like a Mardu haste deck, for example. That'll be good enough, but there's other ways. Fury just seems like a must-have in this deck. Then the Mardu legend is Zurgo is back, Mardu mana. So just 3 mana, 2/4 with mobilize 2. When it attacks, you create 2 1/1 red warrior creature tokens, and then you tap and attacking, and then you sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. But it has this little attack that says during your end step, warrior tokens you control have this token can't be sacrificed, so you get to keep the tokens. So we're looking at other mobilize cards, mobilize cards. So they are mostly going to be from the new set, or they're all going to be from the new set. Bone Cane, Butcher makes 2 and give them Death Touch. Voice of Victory is going to help make you more protected on your turn, so your opponent can cast spell during your turn. They're all warriors, so we get to run Chief of the Edge, Chief of the Scale, Kargan War Leader, any tribal card, Vanquisher's Banner. Can't think of any other one on top of my head, but you know, any tribal card works well. We're going to be focusing on mainly warriors. We also want Anthem effects, since we're going to be going wide. Warrior the score is going to ping for each token from the mobilize, and also make all those tokens bigger. Purfro just ping your opponent for a freak turn, 2 damage per token that comes to play. Zurgo turn 3, Purfro's turn 4, attack, deal 4 damage from ETB, and then you're also attacking for 4, so it could be 8 damage on turn 4. Disgusting. And then lastly, again, Enduring Innocence is back again, Caretaker's Talent is back again, tokens come into play, let me draw extra cards, let me fill my hand. So having our pressure, which is the token coming to play, that's pinging your opponents and attacking your opponents, also be a card advantage, just seems very, very powerful and very, very important for this deck. This one is definitely going to be one of the first ones I make. Not necessarily one of the first ones I play because I probably need a few rares from the new set, so I'm gonna have to draft a little bit. In Mardu we have Eshki Dragonclaw. It's a Surak sister. Wait, is it actually Surak sister? No, Dragonclaw is the name of the I don't know, because I know there's Surak Dragonclaw, and I don't know if it's a title. It's probably a title. Yeah, it makes sense to be the title. Vigilance Trample Ward on a 4th mana 4/4. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell this turn, you draw a card and put 2 counters on it. So it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you're drawing cards. But we have to cast a creature and a non-creature spell. Well, adventurers are the best way to do it, because you have both a creature and a spell on the same card. Questing Druid and Scalding Viper being very cheap ones, is 4 mana and you get both sides. Since we're going to be drawing extra cards and casting multiple spells, the Tigam that we mentioned previously, we looked at his possibility to build a deck. It's going to work quite well here, since the second one, be it the creature or the non-creature, you're going to get to exile it, and 4 turns later you're going to get to cast it again, and then which is going to help you trigger Eshki on that turn 4 turns later. If that makes sense, since you're going to get this spell of Suspend. Let's say we get a creature of Suspend, we cast a creature, you only need to cast a non-creature spell to trigger Eshki again, and to also trigger Tigam again. So it's very, very powerful. Chrome is just going to be drawing us extra cards. Then we're looking at the likes of cards that cast multiple spells in a turn, the same way we look at Tigam. This is a bit tougher. Well, Torrential Gearhulk 100% gets to cast both a creature and non-creature spell. Not necessarily the Bloodbraid Elf, but you know, we can hope. It's a way to hopefully get to cast both in a turn. Then lastly, we just get, since we're going to be making Eshki so big, we can kind of just focus on that and make, whenever we put a count, we put an extra, double the amount. So we're putting 2 counters. Oh wait, no, we're putting 4. Like this is going to be a 3, maybe like 2-3 attacks, especially with Trample, and you win the game. So especially with Ward as well, with Innkeeper starting to get Ward 1 twice. So very, very nice. It's a powerful deck. It's going to be a powerful deck for sure. And then the dragon for Teema is Ureni, the Song of Unending. It's 8 mana, a bit expensive. 10/10, very, very strong. Whenever, well, it has flying protection from white and from black. So that's very good. It's like if you're playing against black and white, you just have this 10/10 that can't be blocked, and they can't use target removal. Disgusting. When he enters, deals X damage divided you choose among of target creatures and planeswalkers, where X number of lands you control. So this is going to be a land heavy deck. Like I'm talking about 45 to 50 lands you probably want to play. A lot of basics, because the most land searches are basic. Cultivate, searching for basics. This new card from Dragonstorm, searches for 2 basic, put into play, and whenever dragon come into play, you get to take the Dragonstorm back to your hand. We have ways to play extra lands in a turn from the top of our deck, and play lands from our graveyard. And then since we're going to be making a lot of landfall triggers, Tarkir is going to draw us extra cards. This is going to be making 4/4 dragons. 4/4 dragons going to get the Dragonstorm back into our hand. And the idea is to have so much freaking mana that any X spell, so I put the Warsoul's Rage, because this is just going to get more lands into play. But we're talking about the likes of Banning Fire. That's going to be game ending as well. Then Genesis Ultimatum, we're going to just, the idea of it representing any big spell. You could play Eldrazi, you could play Ulamog, you could play Emrakul, any big mana cards, because the idea is the first turn 1 to 4, just searching for lands around our deck and putting into play, and then from there onwards, just big stuff, big stuff, big stuff, big stuff. Play my commander, clean your board, big stuff, big stuff. If you have any way to give Ureni haste as well, Arena of Glory for example, kill your board, attack you for 10. Now you're like you have a turn left before I kill you, kind of thing. So very powerful. It might lean itself into the usual, I'm playing Teamer, so I just ramp and play big stuff, which can be a bit repetitive, but I think the Ureni itself is interesting enough to break that curse. In Abzan we have Betork into all. This one is very interesting. 5 mana, 5/7. Beginning of your end step, if creature you can have total toughness 10 or greater, you draw a card. If it's 20 or greater, well, then if it's 20 or greater, you untap each creature, and then if it's 40 or greater, each opponent loses half the life total rounded up. So we're not necessarily running a defender deck for Assault Formation, but we're running a deck where our creatures have bigger toughness than power, so 0/6, 0/13, 4/6, things like that. There's obviously other ones, especially in white, there's a lot of walls, so that's going to make it quite easy to get at least the 10 and 20 should be doable. The 40 is a lot. But we have the likes of Zopandrel, which doubles your creature's power and toughness. So imagine you have a 0.13, well, you have a 0.26 now. That's already over half of the necessary. Well, you're gonna have to have Zoprandel, so you have 0.26 and a 8.12, so that's already 38. So only missing better needs to be in play to trigger this. So having these three, for example, in play already triggers the whole of better. We have the likes of creatures that will let you attack. Fecund Green Shell is going to get a bunch of lands to play. Triple Edition, just a lot of toughness. Bloodletter works really well with the second half. You're going to lose half the life total, round it up, and then Bloodletter is going to make them lose twice that much. They have 25 life, they lose 13. Bloodletter makes them lose another 13. That's 26. They died. So there is a way to combo these two. Obviously, getting 40 toughness will be the tough part, but we can make it work. We're going to be running a lot of defenders also. So we're working with the idea of doing a lot of damage, and then these guys are the idea of untapping the second half. You know, drawing a card doesn't really matter. The 40 toughness to deal damage, and then these guys are the idea of you get to untap, so you're going to have a lot of defenders, so there's going to deal a lot of damage. This is just going to add a lot of mana. Add 3 during your turn, you get to untap, add 3 during your opponent's turn, or if you have any activated ability, such as the Blight Pile itself. So yeah, it reminds me of Doran, which was the old Abzan defended, big toughness, big booty kind of deck. So it's a similar idea. If you're playing Doran on paper, you're probably putting better in your deck. You could even switch them around. We don't have Doran on Arena yet, but hopefully one day we will. Next we have Fellotar, Dawn of the Abzan. 3 mana 3/3 with trample. When he enters or attacks, you can sacrifice a non-land permanent. When you do, put a counter on each creature you control. We're running tokens again. Yes. Tokens and counters. So, you know, it's a bit different. We have ways to double or put extra counters. We're putting, with Hardened Skill, putting 2 counters on each creature. And this one, at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. You can choose the Mardu, but you're going to choose the Abzan in your Abzan deck. Creatures that get value from counters being put on them. We have the Adept Eternal Witness. I didn't put it here as an example, but when I put a counter on it, you can get something back from your graveyard. Scurry Oak is going to make extra tokens, which is going to feed the Fellotar to have things to sacrifice to the Fellotar, I don't know. Things to sacrifice to your commander, or things to put counters in your commander. Same with the Brood Scales, creating extra tokens. Again, we need fodder. So Bitter Blossom making a token every turn. On Firemancer, you get to sacrifice the Firemancer token, and then the following upkeep you get to create it again. So that's disgusting. That's nice. You just have infinite fodder in a way. Not infinite, but you know, recurrent fodder. And then lastly, working on the idea, like, let's not only focus on the token part, but also on the counters part. This is going to let you draw multiple cards, whereas Hamza is going to make all your spells cheaper since you're going wide, or you could just have counters. Let's say you have 5 creatures counter, your next spell costs 5 less. So yeah, pretty nice. I don't think this is anything that different that Abzan hasn't done before, but I think it's interesting enough that's worthwhile to try. Now we're into Jeskai, so we have Narset again. 3 mana 3/4. Beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand. If you do draw cards equal to the number of spells you cast this turn. So we need to be casting a lot of spells to draw a lot of cards. Burgi and Kikar help because they add extra mana, although only red, which it's fine. We can make it work. Displace the Kit and Paradox Engine. This is if you want to try to do any kind of combination. If you run any Mox Ember, any Mana Rock, Mox Ember, Chromatic Lantern, Key to the Archive, Hedron Archive, anything like that, just keep untapping them so you have extra mana, so you get to keep casting spells and keep untapping them and go on, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's a way to kind of combo. There's definitely the Underworld Breach would then help as well, because you get to cast the spell from your graveyard, and then I comboed a lot, I generated a lot of mana, cast a bunch of spells, I dealt a lot of damage, but I didn't kill them. Okay, end step, I draw 17 cards. Your turn. Pretty disgusting. We're going to be drawing a lot of cards and discarding cards, so Monument of Endurance, 2 Endurance rather. Going to get value from the discard. Never miss it. Anything to draw extra cards, going to get value from the draw cards part of Narset. And then also to help with the combination, we're intimate, so we call it combo, we don't call it combination. I don't use the full government name anymore for combos. Archmage is going to draw cards, whereas Flame Breathe or any sort of ability like that, we have Thermal Alchemist, Firebrand Archer, Gutter Snipe. There's the Ring version as well, whose name is escaping me. but anything that's every time you cast a spell to keep comboing with Narset or draw a bunch of cards at the end of the step with Narset, you're just gonna ping your opponent or draw extra cards. So this is a combo deck. Like, it's asking for you to combo. It's just a matter whether your combo is gonna kill your opponent on the turn, or is just gonna put you so far ahead. Then the dragon for Narset, for Jeskai is Shiko, Paragon of the Wave. 5 mana, 4/5 Flying Vigilance. When he enters, you exile target land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. You get to copy it and cast the copy without paying its mana cost. There isn't anything too broken to do it with it, since he is only mana value 3 or less. But I think the idea is to blink Shiko a lot. So we have the likes of Displace a Kitten again here to do combinations, combos. Displace Kitten in play, Shiko comes in, you copy See the Truth. When it's cast from anywhere but your hand, you draw 3 cards. And then with that, you get to blink, the Shiko comes into play, you cast something else, then Displace the Kitten triggers, blinks the Shiko and cast something else, and then, you know, you get where I'm going, right? So we have obviously Displace Kitten for combos, we have any kind of other blinking effects to work quite well there. There's not that many powerful 3 mana or less cards that you can really abuse, but Sylvan's Reclamation was a good example of, you know, get something back, or See the Truth, just draw 3 cards. Artist Talent, Jeskai Ascent is just going to help you to feed your graveyard. Obviously you can just be casting spells that will work, but I think it's nice to kind of get a go ahead on spells in the bin. Those two really help. Elishnorn is going to get double the triggers. Since we are kind of already doing some blink stuff, you can run some other creatures with ETB effects that you can blink and get double the triggers. So it's kind of a Jeskai blink with a non-creature theme as well, and kind of just getting a lot of value. It's not anything combo winning, like it's not a combo that wins the game, but it just gets you a lot of value and it gets you very, very far ahead. And now we're into Sultai. Coda's the Fang Keeper is a 4 mana 2/1 with Indestructible, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top X card of their library, where X the damage you dealt, and you can cast any number of spells with mana value X or less. So we need to get Cotta's bigger, because dealing 2 damage, exiling 2 cards, the odds of you hitting a 1 or a 2, since he lands you cannot cast, Cotta's is cast not play, that's what I meant to say. So we need to get it bigger, and we need to make sure he hits, because the 2/1 is easy to block. Even if it has Indestructible, sure it doesn't trade, but it, you know, just brick walls it. So we have Aqua's Form, Aether Tunnel, anything that makes it unblockable. We have effects that make it bigger. So I think Equipments would be a great way. Blackbait Reforge, you get to play this on turn 2, play Codas on 4, equip the Reforge on 5, and swing for 7. Saying no trample is also nice. Oh wait, there's no trample. Audacity gives trample. Ancestral Mask if you're going very much on this one creature plan, just making it huge, just do that. Any of the swords of X and X, I love Sword of Body and Mind, but Fire and Ice is also very, very good. And then since we're going to be dealing all this damage, this is basically a 1 creature deck with Codas, and we just keep putting stuff on it. You obviously want ways to give it hexproof, so with the boots. You also want ways to be uncounterable, so Cavern of Souls or Delighted Halfling. But it's very much, I have this one commander, I'm going to make this one commander huge, and I'm going to win because of this one guy. That's the game plan here. And then Aether Spark also makes it bigger, and also going to get a lot of counters on the loyalty counters, which you then you're going to draw a lot of cards with a lot of mana. Gonti, since you're going to be, the plan is to be hitting them anyway, works quite well. There's also the 4 mana one from Jumpstart, whose name I cannot remember right now, but I did make a video on her. Type something, yes, that one as well. Anything that whenever a creature does combat damage, you get X, because the plan is to be dealing a lot of damage with Codas. Then the dragon for Sultai is Tival. 5 mana 6/6 with Flying Life Link, and spells you cast have Delve. Whenever you cast a spell, you lose life equals to a mana value. We need to fill a graveyard, and we need to mitigate the life loss of the Delve part of the deck. So we have Exsanguinate and Reservoir to kind of mitigate the life loss. Exsanguinate, it can just be a win con on its own. Since you pay 2 black and exile 20 cards from your graveyard, deal 20 damage to your opponent. Oh no, I just paid 22 life. Well, you're also gaining 20 life. Once the spell resolves. Let it be clear, once the spell resolves. So you're going to have 23 life if you do this, for example. Just an example. Mesmeric Orb, this is definitely the deck for it. And so, same with Ripples, just fill a graveyard as quickly as possible. Like from the get-go, I just want cards in my graveyard. Just by the time I play Tival, I want to have 20 cards in my graveyard if possible. One thing that works really well with Brawl is obviously colorless spells, because the turn Brawl comes into play, you're probably not going to have any other colored mana to use. But if you have color spells, you can cast them. Platinum Angel works really freaking well, because you get to cast the turn Brawl comes into play, and then you can keep losing life. This is worth noting. You lose life, you don't pay life. Because if you have negative life total, you can't pay life, because you can only pay what you have, but you can lose life. If I have minus 15, I'm gonna cast a reservoir for free by delving, I go to minus 19 and I'm still in the game because Platinum Angel doesn't let me die. Obviously then if they destroy you lose the game, but let's not let that happen. You're gonna be paying a lot of life because of the delve ability. Villas, Broker of Blood is just gonna draw you a bunch of cards, and then we kind of also want to have a backup plan since we're gonna be milling a lot. Maybe Taval doesn't get to resolve, so we have like Mudroth to play the spells from the graveyard, reanimate, anything that gets called back from the graveyard. Because we don't, obviously we want to go deep into the delve plan, but we want to be prepared when we play this guy with this dragon and it just gets killed, because it's going to happen a lot. But yeah, if he gets to resolve, he gets to stick around for one turn because you're kind of going to be missing the colored mana, things are going to get disgusting very, very quickly. Also one I'm very excited. I think that like you're going to have the mill aspect, the self-mill aspect, and you're going to have the life gain aspect to mitigate the life loss, but I think the rest of the deck is just going to be like a Sultai good stuff deck that we kind of already saw with Mudroth or with Yarok kind of thing, but it's going to have this sub theme that's going to be interesting enough. Then the last but not least, because it's very, very powerful, Ugin Eye of the Storms. We had the 8 mana Ugin is currently banned in Brawl, so let's see how long this one sticks around. I think it would. So whenever you cast this spell, you exile up to one target permanent is one or more colors, and whenever you cast a color spell, you exile up to one target permanent is one or more colors. +2, you gain 3 life and draw a card. The 0 adds mana, so you can cast a color spell, and the -11 search your library for any number of colors, non-land cards, exile them, shuffle, and you can cast those this turn. So if you ever -11, you just probably win, because you're going to get most of your deck, if not all of your deck, into play. The 0 is going to help you cast spells, but the thing we're looking for here then is... my brain lagged. First of all, we have 0 mana spells, so the turn we play Ugin, we get to play these guys. So Ugin comes, I cast Ugin, I destroy one thing. Ugin's in play, I cast a Mishra's Bauble, I destroy another thing. I cast this for 0, I destroy another thing. So having cheap spells, great. Ugin ineffable, same brother, same. Your spells are cheaper, so that will help you cast them for 0 to trigger the big Ugin, the Ugin Daddy. Because Lex command, you could just cast it with the Ugin in play, you can cast this for 0, but obviously you can just add mana, cast it for 1. And then we kind of just need to get enough spells to cast. So Mystic Forge is going to help us cast spells from top of the deck. The engine can duplicate any of the abilities of Ugin, swap to activate or trigger ability. So if we -11, oh, there's no point. If we 0, we can copy the 0 and get extra mana. We can copy the trigger ability of casting a color spell. Glaring Flash Raker and Forsaken Monuments are very, very good ways to get to Ugin quicker. So like this is going to be a very, very powerful colorless deck. Usually where for colorless deck falters is that they can't deal with the board or permanents your opponents have. Ugin has a way to deal with that very, very cleanly. So luckily he only targeted, so it's not like the old Ugin just like clean the board. -7, clean the board. And so luckily it's not that, but I don't think it will get banned. But I am looking forward to seeing Ugin in play. Especially, I mean, colorless decks, they lose a lot. They don't get to run counter magic. They don't get to run proper board wipes or targeted removal, things like that. So there is this downside. So we have to see how powerful it ends up being. Sorry, I can't speak anymore. Let me see if I can go to page 1 from here. Yeah, let's go. Cool. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Do leave a like. Do leave a like. Do subscribe if you like. And also do let me know which ones you are gonna build yourself and which ones you like to see me build first. My plan is hopefully Friday. If it comes out on Thursday, I hope to have Friday already a deck ready. But most definitely next week, Monday, Friday is gonna be the first few Tarkir Dragonstorm Commander Brawl videos. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next time. Adios.